Sandor Nagyszalanczy here for Woodworker's Journal, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to use my circle jig, which is featured in the January-February 2015 issue of the magazine. Now, made mostly from half-inch plywood, this adjustable jig is easy to make and works with any standard jigsaw or router. This handy jig allows you to cut accurately sized circular parts of all kinds, such as wheels, plaques, or tabletops, up to a whopping 8 feet in diameter. You can also cut partial circles and arcs, say for making the curved panel for an archtop cabinet door. Now, mount a router in the jig and you can shape curved grooves and flutes or create all manner of decorative round surface designs. To use the circle jig for cutting, you must first remove the sole plate from the bottom of your jigsaw. Then remount the saw to the jig's base plate, a job that's made much easier by removing the base plate from the long pivot bar. Notice that there are 2 pairs of mounting holes. Now, this allows the saw to be properly aligned when fitted with either a wide blade or a narrow one. After tightening the mounting screws, you can go ahead and install the jigsaw's blade. And then reconnect the base plate to the pivot bar. Next, we'll set the circle jig to cut an arc with an exact radius of 32 inches. Take a regular 8-penny nail and insert it into the number 32 hole in the pivot bar. Now slightly loosen the hand knobs that secure the bar and temporarily clamp your jigsaw to the workbench. Now hook the end of your tape measure over the nail and adjust the difference between the nail and your saw blade by sliding the pivot bar in or out as necessary. When you're happy with the setting, tighten the hand knobs. If necessary, you can change the radius setting precisely by using the scale on the jig's base plate. Now it's time to securely clamp the workpiece to the bench top, making sure that none of the clamps will interfere with the motion of the jig during cutting. Using a square and a tape measure, I'll now mark out a pair of lines to form a crosshair that will show me the jig's exact pivot point. Instead of driving the point of the jig pivot directly into this nice mahogany plywood, I'll stick it into this thin wood disc that I'll temporarily attach with adhesive transfer tape. If you don't have any adhesive transfer tape, double stick tape will also do the trick. After carefully positioning the disc over the crosshair marks, I secure it by pounding it down with a dead blow mallet. Before cutting, I set my jigsaw's blade orbit to a low setting to help reduce tear out on the plywood workpiece. I use a small scratch awl for my pivot point and press it firmly into the protective disc. Now, holding the awl with one hand, I turn the saw on and swing it smoothly around to make the cut. After carefully removing the pivot disc with a putty knife, I rub off the tape residue with my thumb, leaving a nice clean, unmarred surface. To use the circle jig with a router, first remove the router's sub-base, and then attach it atop the jig's base plate through the countersunk holes you drilled to match your router. With the pivot arm reattached, follow the same procedure you used earlier with the jigsaw to set the distance between the pivot point and the router bit, which corresponds to the radius of the curve you'll shape. This time I'm going to drive the point of the awl directly into the workpiece, as that part will be cut off later. I now check the jig's swing to make sure it doesn't hit any clamps before I set the bit's final depth of cut. Once again, I take care to swing the jig smoothly around at an even rate of feed as the router bit shapes a decorative V-groove with an attractive curve.